Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Live TV, tonight's broadcast of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. And Greg, I'll tell you what, I've been looking forward to this since these cars were announced. And not only do we have the retro Ford Thunderbird and the old Monte Carlo, but we're also doing it at really the coolest racetrack, in my opinion, in iRacing, the throwback to North Wilkesboro in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And Greg, this racetrack, very unique. Unfortunately, it's in disarray now in real life. Hopefully one day someone can revitalize it and we can get back to racing here. But this track's very unique. Tell us a little bit about its unique features.
Oh, I am so excited to be here, Peter. This is definitely one of the most unique tracks that NASCAR ever went to. 0.6 of a mile around this oval here tonight, and this one is very different, as in the elevations are different. Turns 1 and 2 are lower elevation than 3 and 4. What this means, those cars are going downhill on the front stretch towards turn 1, and when they rip through 1 and 2, suddenly they got to rip uphill towards 3 and 4. The only track on the circuit, oval track that is like that, Peter. So I cannot wait to see these guys absolutely wrestle these cars around this track, because it is going to be a very, very fun 125 laps. I've been driving these cars a lot ever since they launched on the sim, and I can't explain it enough just how much fun these cars are to drive. And I'm looking forward to seeing the ASRS regulars, some of the best in iRacing, going to war here for 125 laps.
Absolutely. You've heard the old saying that it was uphill both ways. Well, it isn't quite uphill both ways, like you mentioned here, but whoever gets the victory lane, I'm sure they'll tell us at the end of the night, it was just like going uphill both ways. This is round 1 of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series, and it's going to be a fantastic schedule. In 2 weeks from now, we go to Charlotte for a 125-lap race around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We got the Firecracker 125 at Daytona a couple weeks after that, and that's the old Daytona, the very bumpy Daytona before they rescan it. Then we go to Pocono, Darlington, Rockingham, and then we go turning left and right at the Glen Classic. So that little bus stop that they added at the end of the long straight, we're going to throw that out. We're going to turn them loose around the 7-turn Glen, and that's going to be super fun. And then we round out the season with Michigan, Phoenix, and ending the season at Bristol. And I'm sure everyone is already looking forward to Bristol, because ending a season at a short track, Greg, and starting a season at a short track like we are tonight is going to be very interesting for the fans.
Oh, I cannot wait to see how this series unfolds, Peter. You got short tracks all abound, and some of the crown jewel tracks of NASCAR that the series would go to during this era: Daytona, Charlotte, Darlington, Bristol, you name it. It is in this series, and it is going to be so much fun to really relive some of those days, because it's been a long time since we saw a race of this style in real life. We saw, of course, the modern Cup cars on Wilkesboro in the NASCAR Pro Invitational Series that ran during the pandemic before NASCAR was able to return. This was the finale of that incredible series that was just so much fun to watch every Sunday, and this is something that these drivers have been looking forward to come out and take their shot at Wilkesboro. And I know that the ASRS drivers have been licking their chops getting set for this series, and it's finally here. Just, I can't even describe the excitement right now. This is going to be so much fun.
Absolutely, and to do it here, like you said, at North Wilkesboro, and I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, this racetrack is not really in a state where you could race on it today, and that's one of the reasons why this is to save the Speedway 125 at North Wilkesboro. There's a group out there trying to save this racetrack, trying to bring it back to what it was back around 15, 20 years ago, back when they still raced it. Of course, Jeff Gordon was the last driver to win a NASCAR race at this racetrack in the mid-90s. And iRacing, when they scanned it, they actually took a little bit of liberties to make the racetrack back to the same state of what it would have been like back in 1987. Of course, these are the two cars, the Ford Thunderbird and the Chevy Monte Carlo from the 1987 season that iRacing have modeled and added to their service. And I got to say, these things are, look at that. Look at Cory Silva. that is my point exactly. These things are pretty difficult to drive. A lot of horsepower. They don't have the same amount of downforce that we have in the modern NASCARs. And the other thing that these cars didn't have back then is restrictor plates on the super speedways. When we go to Daytona in about a month's time from now for the Firecracker 125, they're not going to have a restrictor plate. They're actually going to have to let off in the corners. It isn't going to be flat out. It's going to be a game of guts at Daytona. Who can hold it together for that 125-mile race? But it's also going to be a game of guts here tonight as we're already in the qualifying session. We have 27 cars last I looked. There's a maximum of 36 cars to start the race. It doesn't quite look like we're going to get a full field here tonight in round one of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. But I gotta say, some really awesome looking paint schemes out there. And one thing we were talking before the show, Greg, is that you have a couple of cars out here that are straight up throwback cars. And then you have some drivers who have kind of adapted a modern scheme to put on a 1987 car. And it really is a pretty cool mix of different paint schemes out there.
Yeah, I'm loving seeing these different things. I mean, we saw Cory Silva earlier, kind of a modernized Pepsi scheme on his number 191. You saw Will Worcester running in second. He's kind of got a retro feel to his Monte Carlo here tonight. Richard Fletcher is running a car straight out of 1992. He's running Darrell Waltrip's Western Auto Car, the scheme that he won his final race in. He's running that one out there in the number 43. Has not taken time yet and has not even made it to the grid. So there are just so many awesome cars. I saw the old Morgan McClure Kodak car out there, not number 4. I can't remember who's running it at this time, but we'll see it, I'm sure, as soon as this race starts. But there's just so many awesome paint schemes out there. And these cars, I want to go back to what you were talking about with how difficult these cars are to drive. The best way I can describe this car at not just this track, but like you mentioned, Daytona, it is a wrestling match. You are wrestling that car through and through the entire way around whatever racetrack you're driving. Going back to what you talked about at Daytona and you having to let off or else you're going to break loose. Peter, my first race was at Daytona, and when I was coming through the tri-oval across the finish line, I was facing pit road. It was that sideways coming through the tri-oval at Daytona. That is unheard of nowadays. These cars are so much fun to drive just because it's such a challenge to just try to figure it out and get that car where you want it. And it's going to be exciting to watch these guys drive these things over the next few weeks and months because I cannot wait to see how these guys handle it. Will Worstler, I don't know if you guys see it or not, but he is out there still getting a few extra practice laps, and you can see it right now. He is just wrestling that thing around the corner. He is breaking loose on every exit, sliding through the corners, trying to get it to go straight. It is impressive to watch. He's second on the charts right now to R.J. Stroman, who's on top. And these cars, we've been waiting so long for this, and for good reason. You're going to see it right now as Forster breaking loose and spinning out in turn number 4. It's just so much fun to watch everything go. And Peter, we're seeing it on screen right now. Well, we were. Another nice little addition to the throwback cars, open face helmets, which is what a majority of those drivers ran. There you see it right there with Cory Silva. That is awesome. That is such a neat addition to these cars.
Yeah, and of course, iRacing mentioned that over the next couple of weeks, they're going to be working on custom avatars for your drivers. So you're going to be able to put your own face right there in the race car. That's going to be pretty cool to see. We do have some people in the chat. Got to give a shout out. Aunt Kathy, how's it going? Aunt Kathy saying her 2 favorite drivers from 1987, Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace. I wasn't around in 1987, but 2 big names in the sport that I very much highly regard. Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace. I caught the back end of their careers, and and then their careers over in the broadcast booth as well. So pretty cool to hear that. But here we have the 191 machine, Cory Silva, out there on the racetrack right now, keeping an eye on him. He's just doing some practice laps here. He's got that 191 Pepsi machine in third. And one thing that's a little bit different that I just noticed, Craig, if you watch the American Sim Racing Series, the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series here on 3Y TV on Tuesday nights, usually we see the field very close together. We see about 5 to 10 cars within about a tenth of one another. Folks, look at those times on the left-hand side of the screen. R.J. Stroman sitting atop the board right now in the 185 machine, 19.058, 15th Jonathan Holstein almost a half second slower. There's a lot of stratification in these cars. They're very different to drive, difficult to drive, and that is going to lead to a fairly stratified field here tonight. We'll have to see if they can wrestle with them, and hopefully we can have a lot of green flag action tonight. This race, only 125 laps. This isn't a 1 mile racetrack as you might think. This racetrack coming in at kind of an awkward 0.63 miles, so just under 2/3 of a mile around this joint. Some very unique banking in the corner, a little bit flatter down there on the bottom. And that number 191 machine, Cory Silva, look at those brake rotors blowing. And that's one thing I was going to mention here, Greg, is getting the brakes dialed in tonight is going to be really important to keep your car stable over the long run.
Absolutely, Peter. And I'm looking in the race chat right now what drivers are saying to each other during this qualifying session. Grant Brown summed it up about as good as anyone else can. He says it's like dancing with a chainsaw out there right now. These guys are putting the wheel into it. And going back to what you talked about with the difference in times that we're not used to seeing here in the ASRS, I believe that may go back to just who has turned laps in this car at this track and who hasn't, because this is the first ASRS race that these drivers are doing in this car at this track. But that's not to say that these drivers haven't made starts at this track in other hostess sessions, which are allowed on iRacing. And even the official series, the NASCAR Legend Series, which is the official iRacing server for this particular car, they were at North Wilkesboro for an entire day last week, running races every half hour. So some of these guys probably made some starts at North Wilkesboro that day in preparation for this race. It was actually on a Thursday night, just like it is tonight. So 1 week ago, the NASCAR Legend Series was at North Wilkesboro all day and all night. So these drivers probably were able to go in, get some time in at this track, and really just be able to get some seat time. And that's honestly the most important thing coming into this race, is who has the most seat time at a track that's relatively new to the server, cars that are brand new to the server. We're going to see who has put in the time and who hasn't, I think, in this one.
Just to add to Grant Brown's analogy, Brad Lee has said it's like running on greased glass. I got to say, greased glass is going to be very slippery. And we've already seen it from quite a few cars. I mean, we've seen the number 29 Will Worcester go around. Cory Silva, he went around here turning some practice laps. In fact, if you look right up there at the top of your screen, folks, you see some marks, some tire marks there where people have spun around coming out of turn number 4. So keep an eye on just how tricky this race will be. Will Worcester in the chat saying, I can't drive these things. I'll be lucky if I don't wreck myself. Tough car to drive. Should be fun, though. We will definitely be having fun up here in the booth. Make sure you make yourself heard if you're joining us in the chat here tonight on 3 Wide TV, because this will be a great race to save the Speedway 125 here from North Wilkesboro. Round 1 of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. Great to have them on board. If you're ever in the market for a Harley, go look them up. Look them up online, Boswell's Country Roads, and get yourself one of them. I know my wife has been begging me for a Harley for quite some time, and haven't quite gotten there yet. I'll tell you that much, but probably something down the road. And my friends over at Boswell's Country Roads, Harley Davidson, will be able to hook me up. Yes, my wife grew up on the back of her dad's Harley going for a bike ride, so she wants one of those one day. So hit up Boswell's Country Roads here in the qualifying session. All right, folks, welcome back. Well, looks like we might have had a brief interruption there, but nonetheless, the qualifying session has come to a close. We're going to be now in the race session, and all the cars lining up there on the front stretch. Let's go through tonight's starting lineup for round 1 the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. On the pole in the number 185 machine, RJ Stroman turned a 19.058 second lap. Great job to get the pole here tonight, over a tenth of a second faster than the man who will start alongside of him, the number 29 Will Worcester. Starting on row number 2 is the Pepsi number 191 machine of Cory Silva, and to his outside, the number 11 of Tyler Seville. He's got the bold bikini on that car. Great looking paint scheme on that number 11 machine. Love that kind of retro colors on that car. Starting in 5th, the number 18 of Doug Mullins, also in one of the bold bikini machines. So the bold bikini starting 4th and 5th here tonight. Alongside of him, Howard Ferguson Jr. in the Busch Latte machine. That 137 looks pretty nice. Behind them, on row number 4, is the number 98 machine of Sam Maxwell. Of course, Sam Maxwell, if you know him here in the American Sim Racing Series, he's one of the admins on Tuesday night, but he's running this series here this year. I believe Mr. Jim Foose, the league owner and organizer, is the one who's in the tower tonight. Beside him, the number 99 of Clarence Bonner. Row number 5, rounding out your top 10, is the number 32 of Jordan Harnish and the number 138 of Evan Osborne there, Greg.
Tim Knott running the Wrangler number 41 here tonight to his outside. Adam Jersky, wonder what cheesecake he's got in the oven tonight in a number 69. Alan Young in a retro number 24. One of those guys who's on the brink of breaking through in the Cup Series for a win that runs on Tuesdays. Edward Bray will start to his outside. In 15th, Jonathan Holstein in the 73 alongside Richard Stallings, another retro number 17 there. Stephen A. Hollingsworth will roll off in the 17th with Ty Hester in the 36. Rounding out the top 20, Chris Keenan, and a guy who turned a lot of heads in Charlotte a few weeks ago, Jason Stewart, rounds out your top 20.
As the balloons scatter up into the sky here on the front stretch, there you go, just a few of them just leaving the screen right there. Pretty cool to see that. Rounding out your 27 car field, the number 44 of Michael Whiting. In 21st, Kevin Vollmer to his outside on row number 11. Brad Lee and Grant Brown make up row number 12. Lee Staples, Richard Fletcher, and Todd Kirkwood round out the field. Todd Kirkwood, of course, starting shotgun in that 86 machine. Doesn't actually look like he's made it out there onto the racetrack, so looks like we'll only have 26 starters with a pace truck. A very modern Chevy Silverado is about to head down pit road. Maybe iRacing can add a retro pace vehicle. That'd be kind of cool. Pace truck on pit road, race in the hands of RJ Stroman. They're going to have to watch for a little bit of wheel spin here as they get going for the first time here in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. And the number 29 of Will Worsler goes around the outside there. Greg, power move by that number 29 machine to take the race lead.
Great move by Will Worsler to get the lead. And it's been so long, Peter, we're not sure if the outside lane is the preferred lane or the inside lane, but looks like Will Worsler making the outside lane work. He will lead the first lap in series competition with RJ Stroman and Cory Silva rounding out the top 3 right now. Then we get one of Will Worsler's teammates in the Cup Series, Tyler Seville, in the number 11, and he and teammate Doug Mullins seem to have embraced the teammate mentality in this series as well, running very similar ball bikini paint schemes, and they're both started off very strong, qualifying well inside the top 10 and trying to make their way up through the field. Good job early by those guys as Worsler, their car owner in the Cup Series. Not sure if it's the same here tonight, but he is leading the way here early over RJ Stroman, who set the pole, and he's not a guy who runs in the Tuesday Night Series, so that's impressive for RJ Stroman against some of those Cup Series regulars to go out and set the pole here. And how about Cory Silva? We haven't seen him all year, but he was always a threat last season in the ASRS Cup Series, Premier Series, brought to you by Hacksaw PCs. This is his first start back in quite some time, and here he is running third in the early stages. Good to see Cory Silva back behind the wheel, Peter.
Yeah, like you said, Cory Silva, very fast race car driver in third, closing in on the top 2. It was interesting to see Will Worsler was running a little bit higher up the racetrack than RJ Stroman. Stroman running right down there on that inside curve. Worsler about 2 lanes up in that number 29 machine. Remember, he used that high line to get the lead on lap number 1. And we have a caution. There's a stack up on the front stretch. Chris Keenan in the 157 machine and Jason Stewart unfortunately getting together. And Jason Stewart, we got a message from Steve Puhala in the chat saying that's a Delma Cowart's machine. Never won a race, never lost the party. And the paint helped Delma back in the day. So unfortunately getting a little bit of damage here. And there you see the replay. 57 machine getting a little bit out of shape there, and the 1 getting into it. Here we go, on board with, I believe this is the 157 machine. Coming out of the corner, that might have been a little bit of net code there, Greg. Looked like that car just all of a sudden broke sideways for Chris Keenan, and that's going to be a tough break. A lot of right side damage to that number 157 machine.
Yeah, taking one more look at it here on the 3Y TV replay, and yeah, just some net code.
Yeah, that
right
net
there,
code.
bam.
Yeah, that net code's pretty bad. We saw a little bit of it on, I believe it was Tuesday night. If it wasn't Tuesday night, it was on Sunday night here on 3Y TV. But that's not a good start for the netcode parade. That's what these drivers definitely do not like to see. And unfortunately for Chris Keenan, he got the bad end of that stick with quite a bit of damage, as did the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart. Stewart actually came down pit road to get some of that damage repaired. There he goes. Going to beat the pace car off, so he'll stay on the lead lap in that number 1 checker flag PC's machine. Crinkled up front end, though, on that Ford Thunderbird as he tries his best to catch up to the back of the field. Pace truck lights are still on, so we'll get at least another lap in here. Craig Stykes rooting on his Will Worcester Racing teammates. Craig had a fantastic run this past Tuesday night in the Hacksaw PCs series here on 3 Wide TV. Make sure you go check that race out. It was at Michigan, and folks, if you did not see that race on Tuesday night, that was a fantastic race. One caution the entire race. It had us on the edge of our seats trying to figure out who was going to win that race on fuel mileage. Not going to spoil who won the race, but it was a fantastic one. Make sure you go back and check it out. 1 to green, pace truck lights are out. Seth Olson rooting on the number 44, keeping it on track and off the wall tonight. Of course, the number 44 driven by Michael Whiting, started a little bit further back in the pack in the MW Racing machine. Michael Whiting racing on the hood of that car. But Greg, we're about to go back to green flag, and we've had the first caution of the night. We've got that out of the way, and now hopefully we get some good green flag racing.
We'll be starting lap 11 when we take the green flag and the pace truck pulls off, putting the field back in the hands of Will Worstler. And I love the little Easter egg as the green flag falls. Take a look at the 85 on the outside, the number. It's actually got the little parenthesis up above, or the comma or apostrophe, whatever that is, indicating 1985. Well, it's the number 1, but the positioning makes it look like it's the year 85. That is an awesome. Oh, big wreck behind Tyler Seville. We stay green for right now. Tyler Seville, and I believe Clarence Bonner caught up in that. We stay green, but yeah, it was Clarence Bonner who hit the wall. Tyler Seville going the wrong way on the one-way right now.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly what happened here on the 3 Wide TV replay. Going off into turn number 3. Ooh, a little bit of help there from Jordan Harnish in the number 32 machine. Sent the number 11 up the hill. And looks like Clarence Bonner in the 99 also got a chunk of that. So some damage on those race cars. Hopefully they can overcome that with wrestling these cars around this 0.63 mile North Wilkesboro Speedway. There you see Clarence Bonner there. I love that paint scheme on Clarence Bonner's machine. It's got that retro throwback to it. The Sunset Sarsaparilla machine.
It looks like it's straight out of the Southwest. That is awesome.
Absolutely. That car, very, very cool. Let me highlighting a couple of cars here tonight. Here we go on board with the number 191 machine of Cory Silva, trying to take the 2nd spot away from RJ Stroman in that 185. So a couple of triple-digit numbers there racing together. And here comes Howard Ferguson Jr. in the number 137 around the outside.
More contact. Bonner and Maxwell made contact going into turn number 1 there, and turn number 3, and Clarence Bonner once again catching the ball. Oh, and there's more contact, and there goes Sam Maxwell around. Holstein gets through. We go yellow.
Yeah, 3 wide down the front stretch here at North Wilkesboro. That doesn't often work out. Yeah, there's that initial contact, and then we were 3 wide down the front stretch. You got the number 24 machine down there. That's Alan Young, and I think that the number 99 there of Bonner was just trying to get out of it to get back to 2 wide, and unfortunately the door was kind of closed up on them, and that's what caused that accident. There was that initial contact, though, in turn number 3 and 4, and then watch that 99. He's backing out of it, and then the 98 might have just come down the racetrack a little bit. But 3 wide on the front stretch here in the early going. Wasn't really expecting that at this present moment in the race.
Now, these guys are definitely racing hard here tonight, Peter. And, boy, I can tell Clarence Bonner on pit road, and he's bringing a couple of others down. But, Peter, I can tell kind of off there in turn number 1. Is that your camper that the huge party down there in turn 1 and 2 is? That is awesome looking down.
I'll tell you what, there's so many people on my camper right now. I'm concerned that the ceiling's going to cave in on it. There is an absolute rager going off in turn number 1 right now. Hope they're all having a good time. These throwback 80s looking campers, a great little touch to this racetrack. And really, iRacing did a great job. I mean, in turn number 3, you have the old manual scoreboard. There you can see those old campers, but they have the old manual scoreboard in turn number 3, which I think is such a unique touch to this racetrack. I mean, they did the balloons, which was a staple of this racetrack back in the day at the start of the race. And then they added things like that Holly Farm scoreboard right there. You see it as we quickly go past it. And it fully works, folks. So if you keep an eagle eye on that, if the YouTube compression isn't bad enough, you will be able to make out where these different drivers are by just keeping an eye on that scoreboard. But speaking of where drivers are, let's kind of talk about how the field is stratified in the first 20 laps or so. Biggest movers of the race so far, Lee Staples in the number 26 machine. He started in the 25th position. He's up to 15, so that's plus 10. Stephen A. Hollingsworth in the 202 machine. He's gained 8 positions since the start. Jonathan Holstein in the 73, plus 7. Alan Young, plus 7. Alan Young sitting in the 6th position right now. And Greg, he's been around all the chaos that we've had in the early going, but so far that number 24 is nice and clean.
Yeah, and that's typical Alan Young right there. We see that a lot on Tuesday nights in the Hacksaw Premier Series. It is typical Alan Young to be up near the front and hanging out, but keeping clean for the most part as we're 1 to green. So I'm keeping my eye on that white and blue 24 to see how it goes. But so far, Peter, it has been all Will Worsler. He has led every lap thus far, all 20 of them that are complete, coming to complete lap 21 and start lap 22 when the Chevy Silverado pulls onto pit road, and the field will be back in the hands of the Fast Track Monte Carlo.
Absolutely, and one thing that we haven't mentioned here tonight is that there are tire limits here in this series, and these drivers will have to manage the tires as much as they can. We're back to green flag. Will Worsler once again dives it off into turn number 1 as the race leader. He's led every lap so far in this race, but he doesn't have RJ Stroman right behind him in the 185 machine. Whoa, look at those cars getting so close to that outside retaining wall. And here comes RJ Stroman underneath your race leader, the number 29 of Will Worsler. He had a nose underneath him, but just unable to get that drive up off the corner for now. Howard Ferguson Jr. in 3rd position. He's got around the 191 of Cory Silva, and here comes the number 32 of Jordan Harnish to the outside of Cory Silva in that 191. Harnish just got a huge run coming out of turn number 2, and he's got that higher groove where there's a little bit more banking, a little bit more grip up there, and he's going to make that pass and move himself up into 4th position. So Harnish, he started back in 9th. He's already up to 4th as there's a slow car. It's Lee Staples in the number 26 machine, who I was just talking about, was the biggest mover in the field, and something has happened to that number 26 step tire machine. A lot of damage. Let's see if we can see what happened here. This is a bit further back in the pack, somewhere around the 15th position or so. And, not quite sure if there was a little bit of contact that initiated it there. Kevin Vollmer looks like he got a piece of it as well in that collision, but that's going to put Lee Staples well down the running order. The first car 1 lap down here. Here's another look. We've now gone, I believe, back live, but Lee Staples currently scored in the 25th position out there on the racetrack, Greg.
Yeah, Lee Staples will be the first car 1 lap down. One car has already parked it behind the wall, that being the 52 of Grant Brown, so he only makes it a couple laps before he brings it behind the wall. Sorry, I was watching the battle between Howard Ferguson and RJ Stroman going on for the 2nd position. And how about Jordan Harnish in the 32 putting the pressure on right now? He has gotten around Cory Silva. Jordan Harnish, he's another one of those guys who we've been keeping our eye on in the Cup Series lately. He has been so strong in the Cup Series, just hasn't been able to break through yet, but this looks like this seems to fit him right now as he is up in the 4th position after starting in 9th. He's up 5 positions, going after our pole sitter RJ Stroman right now in the 185, so a good run so far for Jordan Harnish in the 32, but up front it is still all Will Worsler. He's actually beginning to open up a little bit, Peter.
Yeah, and you saw right there, he's running a higher line than most of the cars around him. You know, that's a good omen for saving tires. That's really a great way to save the tires because you're running a larger radius around the racetrack. You're having to turn the wheel less And there's more grip up there. There's a little bit more banking on that high side than right down there on the bottom near the curbing. So all around, it's helped save your tires. And in a series like this, where tire limits are a thing, that is one of the keys to doing very well. We saw it on Tuesday night in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series at Michigan. Saving your tires was how a lot of drivers made their way through the pack and eventually got up into the top 5. Here again, I'm seeing that out of that number 29 machine, and he is starting to pull away. Last time by, he was the second fastest car on track behind Alan Young, and looks like Doug Mullins came across the line and turned a very quick lapse as well. So Warser definitely turning up the heat here as we have now completed 32 laps this time by.
Worsler beginning to pull away little by little. That time, though, Ferguson in the 37 able to cut about a 10th off of it here. So we're seeing it more and more how difficult these cars are to drive, and just because the driver's doing really good at one point doesn't mean it's going to happen the entire way. First side-by-side battle breaking out right now for the 5th position between Cory Silva and Alan Young. And Alan Young started 13th, Peter, currently trying to crack the top 5 for the first time tonight. But I am so impressed with how Cory Silva has been able to jump right back into the driver's seat after taking half a season off, and is right back where he left off, competitive right out of the gate. Qualified in 3rd, was up in 2nd for a little bit, now trying to get himself back into position here, riding in 5th, able to fend off Alan Young for now. And here comes Doug Mullins as well, also beginning to creep in, another one of the Will Horsler entries in the Hacksaw PC series. I'm assuming it's the same here in the Retro series, but man, oh man, this is just so much fun to watch, and seeing some names we haven't seen in a while. You got Cory Silva out there, just to name one. You got several drivers who have been a while since we've seen them, and then they're mixing in with some of the stars of the Hacksaw PC series, such as Will Worsler. You have Jason Stewart, who almost stole one earlier this year at Charlotte. You've got, again, we're not going to spoil it, but the race winner at Michigan 2 days ago is in the race tonight. So you're seeing the most recent winner in the ASRS Hacksaw PC series race tonight in the Throwback series. So this is just so much fun to watch it all go down.
Very different race car to drive. Ooh, might have been a little bit of contact back there. Ooh, like, who's that? Is that Sam Maxwell in that number 98 machine? He's got some damage on that race car. Let's go back and see this on the 3-wide TV replay. Looks like Maxwell had already got that damage from that collision earlier, right there in turn number 3 and 4. Ooh, not quite sure if Staples ran up on the back bumper of the car in front of him, and 98 had nowhere to go. That's kind of what it looked like. That's Ty Hester in that bright red number 36 machine. We have had a second retirement. Adam Hoagland, I do believe, no, he wasn't in the show. He must have been here in the broadcast with us and in the spectator session with us. And I'll tell you what, it is going to be interesting to see as we close in on the halfway mark. Does anyone have something for Will Worsler? But I think your answer right there is at the bottom of your screen. Howard Ferguson is coming, Greg.
Yeah, he's one of those drivers who we don't see in the Cup Series, and he is going to work on a winner this season in the Cup Series, and the guy who has been so strong all season long for the race lead here in the first Throwback Series race. This is incredible watching Howard Ferguson Jr. right now put the pressure on Will Worsler, and Worsler with a big slide off of turn number 4, where Ferguson seems to really have a good handle on it right now. Going back to what we talked about earlier, I would say Howard Ferguson has put some laps in as we have a caution.
The number 17 of Richard Stallings has gone around in turn number 4. That appears to be Calamity Corner here today. A lot of damage to that number 17 machine. Let's see if we can break down what happened. Ooh, a little bit of a nudge there from the Kodak machine. And definitely a tough break for him. That's Evan Osborne in that Kodak machine. And you see him trying to get back righted. Good news for Stallings, though, is he won't lose a lap here. He was able to get it pointed in the right direction before the leaders came around. He'll just lose a lot of track position, currently being scored down in the 23rd position out of the 24 cars that we still have running here tonight. Do want to mention the 52 of Grant Brown. He was the first retirement here tonight. He's been really struggling with internet connection issues, which is very unfortunate. It's something that you kind of have to deal with in sim racing. When you have those connection issues, it can ruin your race pretty fast. And unfortunately for that number 52, he pulled it off the racetrack. And it also appears now the number 99 of Clarence Bonner has taken his car behind the wall as well. But for Lee Staples, you'll be back on the lead lap because he is your lucky dog here in round 1 of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. Make sure to go check them out. Always great to see Harleys out there on the road. And remember, you don't just have to buy a Harley there. You can get all your Harley merchandise at a lot of the Harley Davidson dealerships across the country. So even if, with Father's Day around the corner, if you know someone who's interested in getting a little bit of Harley Davidson swag, go check them out. I'm sure they'll be able to ship to you and all that good stuff, especially with everything that's going on in the world. Make sure you stay safe. Craig Sykes in the chat saying, looks like the brakes on these old stock cars aren't very good. Yeah, they're not as good as what you'd find on the modern day cup cars, I'll tell you that much. And the brake rotors glow a lot. We saw that a little bit earlier when we watched the number 191 of Cory Silva. And the brake rotors there glow nice and orange when we're under green flag conditions. Now they can cool off a little bit while we go around the racetrack nice and slow at only 45 miles an hour, Greg, and we're closing in on the halfway mark here in about 20 laps or so.
And it's been a fun race so far. We're going to be lap 62 when we reach the halfway point, working lap 46 right now, so just under 20 laps before halfway. And Will Worsler has led all 45 of the 45 complete, make it 46 as they cross the strike here. And it looks like we're going to be getting the 1-2 green as the field doubles up, like the pace truck go out. So Will Worsler has led all 46 laps, but Peter, Howard Ferguson Jr. to his outside in the 37, he was putting pressure on and really beginning to test Will Worsler. We hadn't really seen a lot of tests for Worsler since R.J. Stroman was giving him some pressure early in the race. Worsler had kind of been out for a nice Sunday drive up until the last 3 or 4 laps before that green flag.
Yeah, and remember, now in the American Sim Racing Series, the leader has lane choice. So the number 29 of Will Worsler has chosen to be on the inside groove for this restart, and he's already down and away. He hit the loud pedal very, very quickly before the green flag even threw. So he jumped out to about a half car length advantage over Howard Ferguson. And I'm sure with the pace that Ferguson has, and Will Worsler watching that number 137 get a little bit closer in his rearview mirror, he wanted to time that restart as quick as possible.
Yeah, Worsler definitely wanted to get out there and try to hang on to the lead, because he said before the race in chat he was not sure he was going to be able to hang on to this thing the entire race. He's done it so far, but still a long way to go, and he knows that he wants to click off as many laps as humanly possible. But how about Jordan Harnish? He's made his way up into the 3rd spot now, Peters. He's gotten around R.J. Stroman. Jordan Harnish now up in the top 3. He's been slowly making his way up from the 9th starting position. He's the highest ranked Ford right now.
Yeah, and Harnish was able to make that pass because he got the outside on the restart and then just kept his foot in it, got a good run coming out of the corner, and just powered away from R.J. Stroman in the 185 machine. So Harnish using that high line to his advantage. Like I said, there's a little bit more grip up there. You can use that low line for sure, but you can definitely use that high line to make a pass because you kind of pinch the car down up off the corner. They can't get the power down as soon as you are able to on that high groove, and that's how Harnish is now up in this 3rd position. He's eyeing up the number 137 of Howard Ferguson right in front of him. 5th place is now Cory Silva in that Pepsi Cola machine. Alan Young side-by-side battle for the 6th position with the number 18 of Doug Mullins. Oh, contact! And Doug Mullins, wow, save.
What a save by Doug Mullins in that Chevy to hang on to it. Great job by Doug Mullins there. Not only did he make the save, he is still in the battle with Alan Young. He finally concedes it to Alan Young now number 24. Here he comes. You take a look at the replay. What a save on board here with Doug Mullins. Look at him fighting.
Just a little nudge there in the door of that number 18 machine sent him for a half spin. Luckily, we stay green, and like you said, Greg, he didn't lose all too much time on the cars in front of him. Mullins in that bold bikini. He made a bold save in that bold bikini machine. So definitely putting on a good show for the fans. Adam Jersky in the number 69 machine He has moved up into the 8th position, nice and quietly. He started in 12th, so he's plus 4 positions. Currently, the biggest mover in the field is Stephen Hollingsworth in the 202 machine. And the 202's got A&W Root Beer on the hood. Great looking Ford Thunderbird right there. He's going to concede a spot to the other bold bikini machine of Tyler Seville in that number 11 machine. Seville's actually one of the cars who elected to come down pit road recently and take some tires. So Seville on those fresher tires is working his way up through the field here, Greg. And remember, we do have tire limits here in the American Sim Racing Series, Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. And Seville is making good use out of those new Goodyear tires.
Riding some momentum is that number 11 of Tyler Seville up in the 8th spot, coming after his teammate Doug Mullins. And note that he has damage on the right rear from an earlier accident, so he has had to fight here tonight at Wilkesboro, and he's going to gain some ground on his teammate right there as he kind of washed up the track a little bit. I want to make a quick note, though, about the car behind him, Adam Jersky, because we talked about Jordan Harnish being the highest ranked Ford in the 3rd spot. The next one is that pink and green 69 Adam Jersky in 9th. 4th through 8th, all Chevy Monte Carlos right there, before you find 2 Fords to round out the top 10 in Jersky and Hollingsworth. Only 3 Fords in the top 10 as opposed to 7 Chevy Monte Carlos right now.
Yeah, very much a Chevy field right now. But Harnish trying to do all he can in that number 32 Ford Thunderbird to break up this Chevrolet party towards the front, as Harnish has lost a little bit of ground to the 2nd place man who you ride on board with right now, Howard Ferguson Jr. in that Busch Latte machine, coming out of turn number 2, still eyeing the back bumper up the number 29 of Will Worsler, who has led every lap so far. Nicky Worsler is in the chat. Clarence Bonner says big old pinata. I'm guessing he's talking about his number 99 machine got some damage earlier. Tough break there, Clarence. Going to be the second machine to retire, that I should say. And there's the number 24 machine. Look at him, Alan Young, once again doing battle with the cars in front of him. Tyler Seville on those fresher tires. He's going around the outside of these guys. Now remember, he has 1 less set of tires than all the other cars in the field, so will that come back to bite him? And I think you just saw what I just saw.
Jordan Harnish, he was facing the infield, and Tyler Seville makes it work. He's going to go from 5th to 3rd in 1 lap right there. What a save by Jordan Harnish. Man, oh man. Tyler Seville is in a hurry, ladies. He is coming for it. We see it there on the replay. What a save by Jordan Harnish.
Yeah, and RJ Stroman just had a moment, a little bit of contact there with the number 24 machine of Alan Young coming out of turn number 4. Almost turned the 185 machine to the inside wall, and this group of cars still having troubles. And this is what we were talking about earlier, folks, is the tire wear on these race cars. These cars out there are now super slick. They have 64 laps on their tires. We're past the halfway distance. The only car in the top 5 who has changed tires is the number 11 of Tyler Seville, and he's turning about 0.3 of a second faster lap times than your race leader, Will Worsler. He's closing in on him. He will get that lead here. Oh, they're trying to wreck. This group is just trying to wreck. The 32 of Harnish is wrecking. He's in the outside retaining wall, comes back down the racetrack, and it's just gotten so slippery out there. Look at Cory Silva. He's dirt tracking it into turn number 3. These cars very, very slippery now, Greg.
I'll tell you, Jordan Harnish needs tires. There's no other way to put it right now. Jordan Harnish, he needs tires. He is slipping and sliding. Remember what Grant Brown said earlier about dancing with the chainsaw? And I think it was Brad Lee who said sliding on greased up glass, and that's what you're seeing right now. Meanwhile, Tyler Seville on those fresher tires has just moved to 2nd, going after the boss man right now, Will Worsler in the 29, and Tyler Seville is looking to be the driver to try to take Will Worsler off the pedestal right now, which is his boss in the Hacksaw PC series. But remember, Peter, we've talked about it a couple times recently. Everyone else hasn't pitted yet. Seville has. When these drivers come in and pit, Tyler Seville might be in trouble, and he knows it, so he's just trying to get up there and try to make things work out his way, because it could be a long day if Seville gets stuck on these older tires once these guys pit.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Seville is kind of hoping this race goes green here. He's on the fresher tires, fastest car out there on the racetrack right now in that number 11 Bolt Bikini machine. And look, he's going to get a run on Will Worcester coming out of turn number 2. Had to duck back in behind that number 29 machine. Just kind of had to woe it up there on entry. He knows he's faster. He's just being patient here, getting that power down up off the corner. Once again, going to duck back in behind Will, but you know what he's doing here, Greg? He's showing his nose to Will, saying, all right, buddy, I'm here. I'm faster than you. And he's just waiting for that number 29 to break loose with those older tires that we're seeing a lot of other cars do out there on the racetrack right now.
It might be working for him, because Will Worcester is definitely starting to slip and slide all over the place. Tyler Seville putting pressure on his boss right now, trying to get up there. Howard Ferguson losing a bunch of ground. But man, oh man, it is getting dicey back here. Jordan Harnish is in big trouble, Peter. He has fallen outside of the top 10 he has fallen out of the top 10 after being up in third just a couple of laps ago. That number 32, that's what you call wrecking loose right now. That 32 is not happy right now. Harnish needs tires, and he needs them bad. You see him on the outside slipping and sliding, and here comes Lee Staples, Adam Jersky, among others. Jordan Harnish needs a pit stop. He needs a caution, and he needs it now.
Yeah, that race car is just wrecking loose. He's got no right rear tire on that number 32 left. It is just, I mean, look at it. There's nothing he can do. He just puts it into the corner, and it just cuts sideways. Here comes the number 66 of Ed Bray. And I got to say, that number 66 is a great-looking paint scheme. He's got Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson on the hood, and he is going to get underneath that number 32 machine and take the position. So Jordan Harnish has now slid all the way back to 18th. It looks like he's got a flat tire with how loose that thing is. As Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine, he was patient, folks, and he just took the race lead from his team owner, Will Worcester. And that Bolt Bikini machine is making a statement in with a bikini on the hood as your new race leader. There you go. You see that pass just goes around the outside, gets the power down. He's made a lot of passes like that. That's how he got through the field, just patiently using that high line, getting the power down, and making that pass. Jordan Harnish continues his slide. He's back to 21st, and he isn't all too far from the number 11 of Tyler Seville from going a lap down. I gotta say, Harnish has got to get to pit road here, Greg. He just has to come down at some point, because you know, that number 32 machine is completely wrecking loose. It looks like he's got a flat tire or something, because it is just like a dirt track right now for him.
Harnish is pushing every button on his sim rig, trying to figure out which button throws the water bottle out on the track to bring out a caution. As he puts up, another car gets around him, the 43 of Richard Fletcher. And Peter, the next car to catch up to Jordan Harnish is our race leader. And seeing that slipping and sliding in front of you, how nervous is Tyler Seville right now?
Oh, I don't think he is caring all too much about the cars immediately in front of him on the racetrack, I think. Oh, here comes Harnish. Harnish is on pit road right now in that number 32 machine. He's going to come down and get 4 fresh tires. And folks, if you think the Cup car pit stops are a little slow nowadays, well, back in the 80s, they were a little bit slower. It's quite a long pit stop for these older cars. iRacing has kind of modeled what pit times were like back in the 80s, so he's going to lose a little bit more track position than he would if he had a modern pit crew, so to speak. So that number 32 will fall down a couple of laps. Good news is he will be out there on fresh tires here shortly, and he is down and away with that number 32 machine. Here's the number 98 machine of Sam Axel. He's been working his way back up through the field in that number 98 machine. He's used a little bit of pit strategy to get himself up. Remember, he was involved in a couple of collisions earlier on, but there we see him in the 7th position, which is a good run for him. He did pit a little bit later than the other cars, but that might have been just to get some of that damage repaired, as he has about 60 laps on his tires since he was last on pit road. Meanwhile, Tyler Seville, he's only been out there for 37 laps, and Will Worcester and pretty much the rest of the field, they have done all 81.5 laps here on the same set of tires. So I'll tell you what, Greg, could be an interesting finish this race. You're on board with Jordan Harnish. I'm sure he's glad he's got those 4 good Mr. Feelgoods on after that pit stop And you can see him starting to slice his way back up through the field. He's going to need a little bit of help with a couple of cautions because he is currently being scored 2 laps down with that number 32.
Another car on pit road, the 191 of Cory Silva coming on the pit road. He was running up near the front most of the day as well, so he will come in to his pit stall right now. But going back to what you mentioned about Jordan Harnish, yes, he's going to be the fastest car on the racetrack by far, absolutely. But the problem is he's 2 laps down, and Tyler Seville has began clicking off cars 1 lap down right now, so he's not even the lucky dog right now. So
Ooh.
he's in trouble right now.
We got this battle brewing for the 2nd position. Will Worsler has the spot. Howard Ferguson Jr. wants it in that 137 machine, trying to get underneath them. They almost touched there going down the backstretch, trying to use the 01 of Bradley as a pick, unable to do so. So they're still side by side here through the corner. And look at Alan Young in the number 24 machine. He's starting to close in on the 2nd and 3rd place machines in front of him. This has been a great run by Alan here tonight, Greg. Just being patient with those tires. We've seen him slowly but surely pick up some spots. He's kept that number 24 machine nice and clean. And look at this. He's got about 4 seconds back to RJ Stroman in the 5th position. So Alan Young is solidly just looking out his front window right now.
Box office standard performance from Alan Young right now, Peter. We have seen this so many times on Tuesday nights. Alan Young just plays the patience game and tries to make his way through the field. And oh, caution is out.
That is the number 98 machine. We were just talking about him, Sam Maxwell. And Lee Staples had nowhere to go but into the side of that number 98 machine. Let's see what happened here to that number 98. Got into the outside wall. Looked like the outside wall just turned him around. He spun back up the racetrack. Got a little bit of help there from the 38. And no, there comes Lee Staples. Just gets into the side of the 98. Cleans him out. Sam Maxwell, tough break for him. He was inside the top 10 and working his way forward. Here we go on board with him. And there's the outside wall right there down the straightaway. Just clips it a little bit, and that sends him spinning right around. But I'll tell you what, Greg, this is going to change the complexion of this race completely. Why? Folks, they only have 1 set of tires that they can change onto in tonight's race. Tyler Seville, he's already come down pit road. He's out of tires. He can't change the tires anymore. Pretty much the rest of the field, you see right there coming down, getting 4 good year tires on. And I think this is greatly going to put the race into the hands of the drivers like Will Worsler, Howard Ferguson Jr., Alan Young, who can take those fresh tires and pretty much run from here to the end. You see those drivers taking tires right now. Will Worsler, slow pit time in that number 29 machine. He's going to lose a spot to both Alan Young and Howard Ferguson Jr. So that number 29 machine, he's going to have to be behind a couple of cars, and he hasn't really been in that position all night long. We'll have to see what he can do when we go back to green flag action. Here's the back half of the field here coming down pit road. They don't want to go a lap down. Like I mentioned, the pit times are a little bit slower with these older Cup cars. They're in the region of about 21 to 25 seconds. Will Worsler was on the slow end of that with a 25-second stop. Howard Ferguson with a 22.8. Alan Young, very quick stop for his crew at 21.2. So a lot of variation in the pit times. So it's important to get on pit road and off pit road with as much distance to the other cars around you as possible. But that will give the pole sitter, the 185 of RJ Stroman. He will be the second car off pit road. Tyler Seville did come down pit road in the number 11 machine, but I don't believe he took tires. RJ Stroman also with a very quick pit stop time. So maybe RJ Stroman here doing a little bit of gambling, just trying to take fuel on that race car. Be interesting to see if Stroman will be able to keep pace with everyone else with such a fast stop, only 12 seconds on that race car.
Peter, speaking of gambling, 2 drivers, well now 1 driver as one of them pulls in. Ty Hester and Lee Staples had not yet visited pit road, and Ty Hester coming on pit road right now. Lee Staples still has not pitted. He is leading the way right now. You talk about gamble with RJ Stroman. That's an even bigger gamble from the 26 of Lee Staples right now.
Yeah, you know, he's keeping that set of tires, and I think Lee Staples might be thinking here, if I can get around the racetrack and stay on the lead lap and maybe get another accident here with about 10 laps to go or something, throw in some good tires and see what they can do in the closing laps. Tires do seem to matter here tonight. And it'll be interesting to see if that works out for Lee Staples. A couple of cars in the back of the pack unable to catch the field as the pace truck is off. We're back to green flag, and Lee Staples holding them up. And that's not what you want to have happen, especially if you're RJ Stroman in the 185. Contact right up at the front. The 26 machine also getting contact. The number 41 of T.N.T there on the Wrangler Chevy Monte Carlo. And this is an absolute scrum here, Greg. Oh, contact up at the front, and it's a couple of your leaders. Will Worser, the number 29, has gone around with the number 135, and Jonathan Holstein hard in the outside wall back there in the pack. But there's the 137 and the number 29 of Will Worser. That is where this caution started, Greg. It was right up at the front. The number 29 there of Will Worser going off into turn number 3 and 4. He comes down the racetrack, and it looked like the number 137 right there had his nose in there. And Howard Ferguson, who's been oh so fast here tonight, same with Will Worser, are now going to have to go to the back of the field, losing all that track position. What a chaotic restart.
And oh man, that is such a tough break for both Horsler and Ferguson, two of the fastest cars in town here tonight. And just like that, the entire race turns on its lid. As you see on the 3-wide TV replay, we're going on board. See it out the windshield here, and see just how quickly right now, when the things bottle up here at North Wilkesboro, just how quick you can go. This is on board with Jonathan Holstein in the 173. Peter, or just 73. Peter, look who's up in the lead now. Alan Young in the 24 was able to get around Tyler Seville.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of damage now on that number 24 machine that he didn't have earlier. Not quite sure where he picked that up. But Alan Young in that number 24 machine is your race leader currently. Definitely a great run for him here tonight. Let's see if we can possibly get a quick word with driver of the number 24 machine. We'll have to see if the pace car lights go off or not. We'll just wait a quick second to see if they stay on. They do stay on, so let's see if we can drag Mr. Alan Young up into the booth here. I'll tell you what, been very, very impressive, that number 24 machine here tonight. Mr. Alan Young, Peter Short in the 3Y TV booth, got a quick word? Yeah. I'll tell you what, you did a fantastic job there under that green flag run. You were closing in on the cars in front of you. What's the secret to being fast here at North Wilkesboro?
Rear tires. I mean, you slide it once, you're pretty much done.
Well, you've done a great job here tonight. You think you're going to be able to hold off a hard-charging group of cars behind you?
We will see. I'm hoping to. It'd be nice to get a win here.
All right, we'll let you get back to it as we got the 1 to green. Best of luck. All right, well, that is the number 24 of Alan Young. He's gone back to his group at the LA SimSport channel with all of his teammates trying to close this one out. He's got a hard-charging number 11 of Tyler Seville to his outside, but Seville, remember, folks, he's on slightly older tires. Your pole sitter, the 185 RJ Stroman, now he's up into third. What about Evan Osborne, racing Illumina here tonight amongst a bunch of Thunderbirds and Monte Carlos? And the green flag back in the air. Alan Young gets us back to action. And that number 24 going to sail it off into turn number 1 and 2. And Greg, we're going to see just how important those fresh tires are in comparison to the number 11 of Tyler Seville here.
Absolutely. Tyler Seville, much older tires than the rest of the field right now. How about Adam Jersky getting up into the 4th spot now, putting pressure on Tyler Seville for 3rd right now? And remember how fast Tyler Seville was slicing and dicing through the field? I think we're going to see the opposite here as Jersky to the inside has Osborne there with him. How about T.N.T in the Wrangler Chevy behind them? And here comes Doug Mullins. That's Tyler Seville's teammate in the 18 as well. So some guys we haven't really talked about a whole lot beginning to come up here late in the going, and that's a benefactor of two of the fastest cars in town, Will Worsler and Howard Ferguson, being caught up in an incident. Will Worsler already back up to 13th, trying to get his way back through the field as he's inside of Richard Stallings right now. But up front, Alan Young feeling the heat right now from RJ Stroman. But we'll see if he can hang on as we are inside 25 laps to go. Closing stages here at Wilkesboro, and it has been an exciting one. 3 wide behind him.
Stephen Hollingsworth in the A&W root beer machine down there on the bottom. And the 4110 not there in the middle. And that number 11, Tyler Seville, and those older tires just sliding back through the field. He's going to fall back to the 8th position here, I do believe. So those older tires definitely showing their age right now. But who's going to walk away with win number 1 in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Throwback Series? I don't know. Earlier in the race, we saw Alan Young very, very fast on the long run. Now he has to be fast on the short run. There's only 22 laps to go. This was right in the wheelhouse of RJ Stroman. Remember, Greg, he was very strong for the first 20, 25 laps of this race and kind of moved backwards a little bit. Regardless, he's been up there in the top 5 all night long. But RJ Stroman now, this is in his wheelhouse. This is when he was fast at the start of the race. He's going to have to go out there and try and do battle and get around that number 24, Alan Young, who is leading the way. Here we go, looking back off the back bumper. Not 100% sure who this is, but that's the number 66. So this is the number 11 of Tyler Seville. That's the number 66 to his inside, Ed Bray. I love that paint scheme. I mentioned that earlier. Boswell's Country Roads on the hood. That gray ghost throwback with a little bit of added color to it. Very cool looking. I love some of the retro schemes that we have seen out of this field this week, and we'll see them throughout the season, I'm sure. There's Cory Silva. Remember, Cory got off sequence in that 191 machine. It didn't work out for him. He's on older tires. He's back in the 14th position. Here comes the number 29 of Will Worcer, led a majority of this race. He's back inside the top 10, folks, trying to get the 9th position from Ed Bray. Jason Stewart just in front of him is in 8th. And then it's a bit of a gap up to the number 41 of T.N.T. Back up towards the front, though. Here's a battle for the 3rd position. Doug Mullins, Adam Jersky, and Mullins is going to get that spot away from the number 69 of Jersky. So Jersky now going to fall back into the clutches of Evan Osborne, just inside the top 5. And right now, Alan Young starting to put a little bit of a gap up at the front. He's up to about 0.6 of a second race lead. And this is what that number 24 wants to see. Clean air and no traffic out the hood of that number 24 machine.
In closing stages, he wants this thing to stay green the rest of the way because he knows that Stroman was stronger on the short run. And with the amount of distance between himself and Doug Mullins right now, 2.6 seconds back, Doug Mullins shaved a 10th off that last time, but I just don't know that that's enough time left in this one. Just 15 to go when they reach the strike this time. So Alan Young, he just wants this race to stay green the rest of the way. If this race stays green the rest of the way, as long as Alan Young keeps it clean, this could be his race to lose right now. So Alan Young just needs to focus out the windshield, not worry about what's going on behind him, and just click these final few laps away, and he will be the inaugural winner.
Yeah, great to have Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson as the series sponsor for this year in the Thursday Night Throwback Series here for the American Sim Racing Series. And, round 1 is always a race that everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to be the inaugural race winner in any series, especially a series with the history of the American Sim Racing Series going all the way back almost 20 years in the NR 2003 days. It's a long-running series, and to win a new series by the sanctioning body would be very, very awesome. And there you see on the left-hand side of the screen, Alan Young up to a 1-second lead even in that number 24 machine. He is just stretching it out up at the front with only 13 laps to go. And there you see the rest of the field going by. There is that number 24 machine. And there's the number 29 of Will Worcer. He's closed in on T.N.T. So this is a battle for the 7th position between the 41 and the number 29. Worcer has disposed of both Jason Stewart and Ed Bray. So Worcer continues his move towards the front. The number 138. Whoa, look at that. The 202 of Stephen Hollingsworth there. Getting all up out of shape in that A&W root beer machine. And I got to say, that is a great-looking throwback scheme. I love A&W. They're pretty retro even today. But to see that on a retro 1987 Ford Thunderbird is pretty cool to see. Speaking of Ford Thunderbirds, it is Adam Jersky and Stephen Hollingsworth who are leading the way for the Thunderbirds. Your top 3 all Chevrolets, Alan Young, RJ Stroman, and Doug Mullins. And then you have the 2 Fords, in fact 3 Fords in a row. Evan Osborne technically on a Ford Thunderbird body, but he does have a Chevrolet Lumina template on that race car. Only car to, oh no, we have a car that's blown up. The 01 of Brad Lee got that number 01 machine smoking here coming out of turn number 3. He's going to try and limp it back to pit road here with only 9 laps to go. But that is a tough break for him. Something must have happened to that Skalicki's auto repair machine. Oh, there you go. that's exactly what happened to it. Hard into the inside wall on the back straight. He's going to stay out there on the racetrack, old school style. He'll probably get a black flag shown to him by iRacing for that. Maybe he's just trying to get an extra couple laps in before that black flag is shown. You don't want to get that black flag, though, because if you do, it will disqualify your car. And he's going to stay out here for another lap. I'm sure the officials will be showing him a black flag here shortly. Sam Maxwell in the number 98 machine. He took that car to the garage, unfortunately. So it was a very promising night for that number 98 machine, but he will be a retirement from this one. Much like the 01 will be at some point here shortly. Here's a battle just inside the top 10. Howard Ferguson Jr., he wants the 9th spot away from the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson number 66 of Ed Bray. Like I said, that's a battle for that 9th position. In front of him, Will Worcester. He's closed in on T.N.T, but unable to do anything with him. The battle for the 4th position is still pretty hot between Jersky Hollingsworth and Evan Osborne. But then in front of them, it's really stratified. Alan Young pulling away up to a 2-second lead here now with just 4 laps to go.
Closing stages of this one, Peter. Alan Young pulling away, 2-second lead now over RJ Stroman, and it is growing, but this is going to make him a little nervous with the 01 of Brad Lee right in front of him, and he's going to go a little bit higher than he has over the last few laps to try to get around Brad Lee. Does no problem. So closing stages of this one here, Peter, and Alan Young was just in the right place at the right time to be able to capitalize on Tyler Seville being thrown off strategy by having to not take tires when the rest of the field did. And Tyler Seville, after leading a portion of this race, and it looked like if this race stayed green, he was set to set sail, is now back in 15th position, trying to hold on to a top 15 finish with pressure coming from Jordan Harnish, who's not on the lead lap. Richard Fletcher, the final car on the lead lap, behind Seville, 4 seconds back of him. But man, oh man, Alan Young, he just put himself in the right place at the right time, and he's taking the white flag.
White flag is out in round 1 of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series, and here he is, only a half lap to go up the hill, up into turn number 3 and 4, working his way through those corners nice and neatly, coming out of the final corner, your winner of round 1, Alan Young, in the number 24 machine. He gets it done here in the American Sim Racing Series. Great job for him here today. Fantastic long green flag run that we had. He closed in on the leaders, and then he was able to, like you said, take advantage of the situation that was given to him and really stretch it out there at the end, up to almost 3 seconds for that number 24 machine. I gotta say, you know what he's gonna do, Greg? He's gonna burn it down here on the front stretch.
You know he's been waiting a long time to do that, Peter. He has been so close so many times in the Hacksaw BC Cup Series. No better way to make a statement than by winning the inaugural event here in the Thursday night series. And man, oh man, Alan Young is burning it down. Well deserved. Alan Young finally breaking through and getting that victory.
Yeah, great job here for Alan Young. Just very, very impressive, and still out there burning it down, using as much of those tires as possible. Of course, you can pop these tires now with the new damage model and the new tire model, so hopefully he doesn't blow a tire before getting the car back to victory lane, or blow the motor in the same regard. But I'm sure Alan Young is a very, very happy race car driver right now, giving the fans the bath of smoke there on the front stretch. He's going to jump out of it, and I think it was Carlos, I think, said the victory lane here used to be up on the roof. And I believe that is true, but I don't think you can quite get there here in iRacing. But nonetheless, we're going to step away for just a brief moment. We're going to figure out how to get up on the roof and get to victory lane here at North Wilkesboro. We'll be right back on 3Y TV.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, folks, welcome back to North Wilkesboro Speedway, round 1 of the Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series has come to a conclusion. We've caught up with the first and third place finishers as well as Ed Bray. Let me see if we can bring Ed up into the booth. And Ed, you got a copy?
I got a copy, Joe.
I'll tell you what, that number 66 out there on the racetrack, I highlighted it a couple times tonight because that number 66 looks flat out legit. Love the paint scheme, the gray ghost, kind of the I'm assuming that's kind of where you were going with that number 66. But you do have Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson on the hood, and of course they are sponsoring this season. How cool is it to have them on board as a series sponsor?
Been great all season. I mean, they sponsor my ARCA cars, my trucks, and my Cup car, and with the throwback. So they were pretty excited about sponsoring the throwback series with ASRS.
Yeah, very, very cool logo. Fantastic looking race car. But how did that race car drive here tonight? They're very tricky. They're a completely different breed of race car than the Cup cars that you're accustomed to. What was it like?
Oh, it was definitely challenging. My arms and legs are pretty tired right now. I mean, they're a handful. They don't have the aero like all the other vehicles, the Cup cars and the trucks. So these things break loose, real easy. Trying to get that braking point and back on the gas at the right spot without spinning those tires and spinning out. And then at the end, of the tire run, it starts to really push. So then, you're having to back up the turn. So it was tough, but they're fun. They're, I'm looking forward to more races.
Yeah, round 2 in 2 weeks' time of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series. We go to Charlotte Motor Speedway, 125 laps there. What are your thoughts about taking these monsters of cars to Charlotte?
Oh, it's gonna be a blast. We did some testing at Dega, so there it's gonna be fun. I do predict there's gonna be a lot of leader changes. And but definitely looking forward to that.
All right. Well, congratulations on your 9th place run here tonight. A good solid top 10 to start the season, and we'll see you 2 weeks' time at Charlotte.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Hey, before we let you go, do want to give you the opportunity to give any additional shout-outs before we let you go.
Big shout out to Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson, big supporter of my racing. Big shout out to Lee Staples. He's the one that actually made the Great Ghost possible for me, and both my teammates, Alan Young, for congratulations for winning, and Jonathan Holsting, and of course you broadcasting.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really do all too much. We just have fun up here in the 3-Wide TV booth. But we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Best of luck.
All right, thanks.
All right, well, that was the 9th place finisher here tonight. The Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson sponsored number 66 of Ed Bray. Now let's go down to the 3rd place finisher. I believe Greg Rentz has caught up with Doug Mullins.
Yeah, Doug Mullins, Greg Rentz, 3-Wide TV. You got a copy.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going good, man. I got to ask you the same question. You just had a quite the interesting race out there, Doug, and it comes home with the podium, man. Tell us about your first run in the retro.
I love these cars. I think these are going to be pretty popular with a pretty specific demographic of drivers. It's nice not having to drive them like slot cars and hit a specific line at a specific speed. You have to wheel them, and they're fun. They're really fun.
Seems to fall right into your wheelhouse as you had a great run going. But man, oh man, you had one of the best saves of the night early in the night. Tell us about that around lap 25:30, I think it.
Yeah, I think I was on up above Lee, and I felt like I was getting held up a little bit by the pack, and I didn't want to burn my stuff up, and so instead of trying to dive bomb them and get on the brakes and have the possibility of sliding up into them, I'm like, well, I'll try it on the outside possibly. And I gave it to him, and we went up, and I don't know, I could have came down a little bit. I know I was trying to stay on his door, so that could have been anybody. I would have taken the blame for it because I was definitely trying to squeeze him down there a little bit. But yeah, that one I just held on, cranked the wheel, and feathered the throttle to keep it, trying to get as much grip as possible.
Well, you definitely had to fight it here. A 3rd place today at North Wilkesboro, but now it's a little bit off before we get back to the throwback series, and that's coming up at Charlotte. And man, oh man, I don't know if you got a chance to drive these things at Charlotte at all yet, but these things are a bear at the big tracks like that. Are you looking forward to seeing what happens?
Yeah, we did a little practice race at Charlotte, and it's definitely a handful. I had a little bit of short run speed there, but I burned my tires off, so I gotta learn that track a little better with these cars. But the great thing is I got an amazing team that we're all giving each other pointers every single day, and I know we're all going to be out on the track whether we'll be there or not, making each other faster. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it big time. It's nice to have a good week for Will Worsler Racing with the Tuesday finishes, and tonight I'm super excited.
Yeah, the team grabbing a win, of course, on Tuesday, and now a podium finish after leading most of the race here tonight. And Doug, it's a 3rd for you, and I know you have some guys you want to thank out. So who you?
Obviously, my team: Will, Tyler, Fletcher. Those guys were here. We practiced a couple times. That it's a great group of guys to race with, to hang out, to practice with. It makes us all fun. When one of us does good, it feels like we all do good. Obviously, I have to give a shout out to Nikki. She's our biggest fan. She's done more marketing for us than I think anybody has ever gotten in the history of esports. We're running Bold Bikini on the hood and whatnot. Little boutique women's swimwear. Kind of a funny twist of sponsors to bring to the league. Obviously Leg Admins, I want to say thanks for putting this series on. It was something that I was really hoping for, and I think they put together a really, really killer schedule. But yeah, just thanks to 3-Wide. You guys always do an awesome broadcast. I can't wait to stay up way too late tonight to rewatch the entire thing.
All right, Doug Mullins, 3rd place in the inaugural Throwback Series race. Great job.
Appreciate it.
And unfortunately, we do not have R.J. Stroman, who finished 2nd here tonight, but I do believe Peter has caught up with our winner, Alan.
I have finally made it to victory lane, and I'll tell you what, we talked to him a little while ago, and Alan Young, he sounded pretty confident over the radio, and Alan, you got the job done. You got a little bit of luck there when you restarted to the outside of the number 11 machine, kind of blew around him, and were able to get that clean air on the nose. And boy, oh boy, did you put on a show there at the end, opening up to about a 3-second lead. Tell us a little bit about your race, because you didn't exactly start up there on the pole. You started back in 13th.
Yeah, qualifying, I messed up my lap on the first lap going into one, got a little loose, and I was like, okay. I knew I had something long run, and we started picking off cars there. Caution come out, then we picked off a few more, and then we had that long run, and I caught up. I think it was Will, and I can't remember who else was running up front. Just kind of stayed there and was riding, saved my tires, and then that caution came out towards the end, and I knew Tyler had new tires, so.
Yeah, the number 11 machine, Seville, just kind of rocketed through the field when he was on fresher tires. But then on the flip side, as soon as that caution eventually came out, you were all able to come down, get that fresh tires, and pull away from him. Unfortunately, he finished well down the order. But fortunately for you, you're in victory lane. First race with these cars in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday night throwback series. Tell us a little bit about how they drive. What has been your experience with these cars? They've been out now just over a week here in the iRacing service. Have you got a lot of track time with them already, or was tonight just kind of jump into the car and it just so happens to work out?
I've done a few fun runs with a group of friends and stuff. I've done a couple just random races, and I like them personally. I like how they drive. You got to kind of watch how you enter the corner. You can't drive it in too deep and get on the brakes, because it will, come sideways and you'll probably end up spinning out. And you can't really mash the gas going off the corner because there's not a whole lot of rear grip. So it's definitely a physical car to drive, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, not only is it a very physical car to drive, it's a beautiful car to look at all the way down to the Stewart Warner tack and the Stewart Warner gauges that you have in the car. Such a fantastic rendition of these vehicles that iRacing has brought to the table. Next week, we go to Charlotte Motor, well, in 2 weeks, we go to Charlotte Motor Speedway for the 125-mile race that's going to be there. Going to be very interesting to see what that race is going to be like, because a lot less aero than these current Cup cars that you race on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Unfortunately, real racing up my way starts back up Thursday nights next week, so this might be the last time you guys see me unless we get some rain out. So, but I will definitely try to watch the broadcast when I can.
I'll tell you what, if you were to walk away after only one race, one and done in victory lane, that's just about a mic drop, if if you can put it that way. But a great run for you here tonight, taking home the checkered flag in the first Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday night throwback race. And I gotta say, I'm sure you got some people you want to shout out.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson for putting us on, being the sponsor. Jim, Sam, everyone at ASRS for the fun racing and what they've put on. My teammates, Lee, John, Ed, them guys are great. My sponsor, which wasn't on the car tonight, but it will be on in the future, Young Guns Creations, and just you guys for broadcasting. I have a blast doing these races, and finally got a win in one of the broadcast races, so I'm pretty happy.
You've knocked on the door for the last 2 seasons here on 3YTV, and now getting it done. Congratulations. Go burn it down some more, because it looked like you were having quite a good time down there celebrating. And if we don't get to see you in 2 weeks, best of luck in the real life racing. I know that that's going to take precedent over sim racing any day. And good luck with your car, and hopefully you can take a checkered flag in real life.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, folks, that is tonight's race winner, Alan Young, in that number 24 machine. We'll let him get back to it. I'm sure he's going to go party it up with his teammates down there in the LA Sim Sport channel here, taking the win in round 1 of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday night throwback series. Right behind him, the number 185 machine, your pole sitter, RJ Stroman, up near the front all night long. Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine after that fantastic save early on, able to recover for a third-place finish, a podium finish. A great way to start off the season. Adam Jersky there in the number 69 coming home in fourth. Stephen Hollingsworth, kind of a quiet night in that 202 machine, was involved in some three-wide action at time. And I got to say, put together a great run in that race car to get a top 5. Evan Osborne in that number 138. He had some troubles in this race, getting involved in a collision pretty early on. He recovers to finish 6th. Tim Knott in the 41 also had a few hurdles to get over in the race, finishing 7th. Will Worcester, we saw him spun around on the racetrack, finishing in 8th for a good recovery. Ed Bray in the number 66. We talked to him just a minute ago, almost rounding out your top 10, and then rounding out the top 10, the number 137 of Howard Ferguson Jr., who was also very, very fast in this race. Greg just got involved in that collision there towards the end of the race. Wasn't quite able to get up into the top 5, but a good run for him. And I think you've got 11th through 20th.
Richard Stallings comes home in the 11th spot. Good run for him in the first race of the season for this brand new series. Jason Stewart, we talked about him so much at Charlotte a few weeks ago. Solid run for him in the 12th position after starting 20th. Michael Whiting, another one who gained quite a few spots throughout the day, started 21st, winds up 13th. Cory Silva got thrown off sequence after having a strong run in the early going on pit road, comes home 14th, running at the top 15. Tyler Seville, who led 17 laps on the course of the day, and looked like if this race had stayed green, he was looking very solid. Unfortunately, it just comes up a little bit short. Final car on the lead lap is Richard Fletcher in the number 43. Lee Staples led 2 laps after taking the gamble to stay out under caution. Didn't work out for him. He finishes the first car 1 lap down in 17th. Jonathan Holstein, the other car, 1 lap down after being caught up in a late accident. Bradley and Jordan Harnish round out the top 20.
If I'm going to give a medal for effort in this race, I would have given that effort to the man who finished in the 20th position. Jordan Harnish was dirt tracking it around this place. Ty Hester, it comes home 21st in the number 36. Chris Keenan 22nd. And then after them, a bunch of retirements. Sam Maxwell in the number 98 machine showed a lot of pace here tonight. Just wasn't meant to be for him. Kevin Vollmer in the 124 machine comes home in the 24th position. Clarence Bonner in 25th. Grant Brown had his connection issues, unfortunately, finishing in 26th. And Todd Kirkwood did not start this race. He finishes all 125 plus laps down. Will Worcester did leave below the most laps here tonight, but like I said, got involved in that wreck late on. So I'll tell you what, great race,
Sorry, Peter.
Greg.
Yeah, talking about Will Worcester leading all those laps early in the race. Looked very strong for a guy who said he was not too confident going into this race. And honestly, this is about the perfect start to a series that you can have, Peter.
Yeah, very much looking forward to 2 weeks from now at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's going to be a great round 2 of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday night Throwback Series. Make sure you're here on 3Y TV, same place, same time. We want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sim TV. They helped us out here tonight with a camera package right before the race started. They are absolutely awesome. Make sure you check out Sim TV here on YouTube. Great group of commentators for a very eclectic group. They do a lot of road racing, a lot of oval racing. Very, very cool to be all their friends. Like I said, great group of people. Go check them out. But Greg, I'm looking forward to the next race already. This one was an absolute spectacular race. Leaves me somewhat speechless, and these new old Cup cars are pretty darn cool.
Yeah, I'm loving these things, Peter. I mean, I fell in love with them the moment that they were released onto the server, and I climbed behind the wheel of my Chevy for the first time. Ever since that first lap, which I turned, by the way, at Charlotte, which just so happens to be where we're headed in 2 weeks. So I can say I'm looking forward to that Charlotte race because I've turned a few laps at that track, and these boys are in for a handful. That is all I'm going to say on that one. Make sure that you tune in for that one because you are not going to want to miss that Charlotte race.
From myself, Peter Short, Greg Rentz, Carlos Acosta, and my Chihuahua Poodle, who made a brief cameo there just a few minutes ago. We want to give each and every one of you a good night, and we will see you 2 weeks' time unless you want to join us on Tuesday nights for the Hacksaw PC's premiere series here on 3 Wide TV for more American Sim Racing Series action. See ya!